I think like anybody, what people do is they buy a business, and it's really the thing that's always talked about. Business is about profit. So we have our eyes focused in on numbers and not necessarily what it takes to get to those numbers with a long-term time frame. Many people are just trying to get there today and what has to happen. So they have a real short-term thinking in their businesses. And I think you have to have a long-term view of business and then really get to the bottom of what makes those businesses work. So what I've found out is that you want to build your business, build your people.
Yeah. What are the top three things that you would tell someone sitting down from you saying, Joe, I want to have coffee with you. I'm thinking about buying this business. What are the top three things that you would say are a must have if you're going to build and invest into your team?
Well, first of all, you have to have a vision that's really, really clear so that it can propel you, because I don't think that you have much chance of success if it's all about the money. That's why so many businesses actually fail. So you have to have something then deeper than that. Simon Sinek does it well with why, right? Um,
Yep.
so I think you have to have a clear vision. I think you have to have a purpose behind that. And it can't just be about one thing. It has to be multifaceted. And then your desire to invest in other people no different than investing your money in a different type of investment is actually I think it's the best investment that you can make of your time and effort, no different than it is your kids at home. You invest time with them, you get a better result. You invest time with your folks and you stand behind them in their career path, and you're going to be able to get way more um, and feel good about the process with them.
Yeah. I've always believed that investing in people is an asymmetric investment, meaning that the downside is so low that it's negligible, but the upside is unlimited because you never know when a ripple, right? I mean, here's an example. I mean, our mutual friend, Bonnie LePage, who is an absolute gift. And if you haven't, if you don't know her, you should check her out, the Maker AI. And she is an absolute gift. But again, I mean, Joe, I mean, this is an incredible story, right? Someone that you brought onto the team and you invested, right? Quote unquote, invested into. Will you share that story? Because I think this is so powerful about what happens when you put a asymmetric investment into someone and then they ripple on to create waves.
Well, Bonnie's a great story in the fact that she was brought on early. She graduated from Iowa State. She's brought on pretty early. As we were starting to grow it, she worked under another person as the director. And it was very, very clear early on that she had talents that exceeded her position. And she stuck with it. She was there. She learned, and she was a direct report to Dylan, my business partner, and worked there. And Dylan incredible at marketing, and so they worked together. What I could tell about Bonnie was that she had even more to give. She had way more. She could, if allowed to, and to grow, she would do something big one day. And we had lots of different conversations about this, especially during her last couple of years, about where she was headed. What she picked up so well was not only what we were doing as far as technically for that company and where she was guided, she could make things look incredibly good. And now in our terminology, Ben, as you've learned, like you make it up, she can make it real, and it like nobody's business. And so she was doing this along the line, and our company looked so incredibly good, and it was really a lot due to her. her ability to design and lay things out in a very simple and clean manner. So seeing that just gave us an incredible thought about, wow, what is it that you can actually become one day, or gave me that thought because of your talent and your ability to strategize in addition to that.
Yeah, Joe, I'm curious. Oftentimes people see that, and I see this in rooms with entrepreneurs when I'm coaching, is that so often they are thinking they see that talent and they feel threatened. Oh, well, that talent, oh, we better harness that, and if not here, then oh, that this would be a monumental loss. And how is it that you see the world? And how would you encourage others listening to this podcast when you see talent or you see something that in someone that is bigger than the position? How did you process that? And how have you always been? You've always been such a natural, hey, I think this is more. I think there's more, and never threatened.
Well, I think we have I think everybody that I meet has it in them. They just have to realize that it may take more than what they're thinking about, because we all tell ourselves these crazy stories about we couldn't ever do that. This is bigger than me. I don't know how. We tell ourselves stories all the time, which you wish that you could just shut that guy off, in your head, or that gal off in your head, and say, look, no, I'm not going to listen to that story. So I think we're controlled by stories that we tell ourselves like that. So if you get somebody from the outside that you have a relationship with, that you trust, that's telling you a different story, you could start to believe that. And many times, I think that's what it takes from all of us, right? So what I see is that everybody has a gift. And, in strategic coach, we learn all about this pretty early on. We learn about unique ability. And the reason it's unique ability is because it's actually unique. Like it is different for everyone. You can have the same Colby score, you can have the same strength finding, you can have the same print, and absolutely different. Every one of those folks is different. Um, I think about the different stories of people that I've been with for many, many years, and some of them are harder to convince that they have something super special. Some of them are more open to it. As we know, the confidence is a capability. And so you and I, when we're developing leaders for companies, and what we want to do is always, like, not just protect their confidence, but grow their confidence, give them opportunities. And so in all the companies that we deal with today, it's all about fail and fast forward. It's just about, like, make a mistake, but don't fear it, okay? Because success is a terrible, terrible teacher. So for all of those people that have gone a long way, these opportunities to be encouraged along the way, even though you're messing up, are really, really important to them. And that's where I see the best growth, is people that will take that next step. Some they won't, though, unless you give them permission.
Yeah. That's you said two things I think are really intriguing. I'll start with the last one first. That when I came into the financial services industry almost 22 years ago, I started to notice that there's a correlation. People who got out of the gate really, really fast. And so for the audience, just to give a little context, in the financial services industry, there's like a 90% fail rate in the first year of working. Just a lot of can't handle no, and it can be a kind of lonely place. And then the 10% who survive, there's another 90% fail rate within the first 3 years of business. So there's a lot of failure. But what I did notice, though, is that there were people who, even in like those numbers, even in those numbers of where that it was hard, I found that those who did really, really well their first year, most people go, well, that's really good, right? That's a good leading indicator. I actually found it, because you actually just said success is a horrible teacher, right? Success doesn't actually teach you anything. And And I look at the people who maybe struggled, but who persevered, who kept the consistency of showing up every single day, that was a better indicator of success long term than those who were successful immediately out of the gate. In fact, I actually think the success immediately out of the gate started telling themselves a story that wasn't necessarily true or complete. And it didn't allow for additional chapters to be written that allowed the second book, the third book, the fourth book to actually be written. And I'm curious, do you find that to be true, right? Because you've owned multiple different businesses, some in sales, some not. I mean, is what I'm saying, do you feel like true?
I just think hardship is really good for us. If you want to bottom line that, I don't think that I'm actually answering your question.
No, I think that is the answer. But keep going.
If we can find out some things about ourselves along the way, it's going to be incredibly, incredibly helpful. I think what we don't probably do is assess the failure very well. What we do is many of us just go on and don't think about, oh, yes, we may have failed, but we got to try something else. We didn't say, what did I actually learn from that? And is it worth repeating actually in a slightly different, no, like in a slightly different way? I could do the same thing in a different way, or sometimes this is going to be a little bit deep, but with a different attitude. And one of the things growing up with all the kids and whatnot, I used to say all the time, like, change your attitude, change your life. But you can change your circumstances pretty fast by changing your attitude towards how you look at the world, how you look at other people, whether you think they're taking from you or whether you think that they're encouraging you along the way. Could be the same thing. There's just so much to learn through that experience of failure.
That's so true. This attitude is such a underrated intelligence. I think it is an intelligence because it really is the agency over your emotion and the story that you tell yourself, right? And I'm not going to go into like specifics, but you and I have had some conversation where any other person, their attitude would have been deeply colored. And instead, the thing I love about you, Joe, is that you are not a person do as I say, but you're a person of do as I do. And I mean, everything you just talked about, I've seen you walk in spades. Uh, but this brings me back to your point that you made, which was my second point. You talked about the stories and the stories that we tell ourselves, and sometimes the desire to not want to face the narrative or the real story. One of my previous guests, Tim Dyer, talked about that any really great show, there's a plot line, which is what you expect or think is going to happen. And then there's the B plot line, which is actually the plot line that actually happens. And so you need both of those. And I'm curious, when you look back, and I know you've been doing a deep dive on this lately, but when you look back over your life and the story that you've been running in your head versus the story that actually happened, what's come up for you that has been, informative of how you've gotten to where you are today, and maybe not always in the most pleasant way?
Well, one of the things that has been helpful is not giving up along the way. I think different times that through challenges, ups and downs, and like even the real estate business, if your attitude is following your bank account, it really won't work. Um, and that's one of the things I think that is really, really helpful. Growing up, man, I'll just go all the way back. One of my favorite books was it was The Little Engine That Could.
Oh,
You know that
goody.
book? All right.
Oh, yeah.
So I can remember my mom reading me that book. I think I can. I think I can. And I think that probably is one of the keys to winning a course is just not giving up, but being able to change course as well along the way. I think is Doesn't have to be an entirely different path, but it could be slightly different in order to achieve what you wanted to achieve. And then the ability to uh, use that experience as the fuel for the next go. I'd like to try to articulate a little bit better, I guess, what your question is asking. Um, Sometimes in both business and in life, there's core things that what you want to accomplish are way deeper with people that, like with yourself and the things that you've actually gone through with different trials and things. Um,
Yes.
to connect with others around that and to get a little bit of a team together that you can actually share authentically with is incredibly important. I think that I've been helped with that because I've been meeting with a small group of guys for over 20 years now, and to be able to share those times with others that uh, are similar seasons in life sometimes is incredibly helpful. I might be meandering here just a little bit. Sorry.
No, no, you're good. This is good.
We wonder sometimes along the way whether we're actually making the progress that we hope to make. And in each of us, there's this desire to have at least some type of recognition for what we've done. And um, some of us have a desire for it more than others, of course. Um, to be known for what you really did is really, really important. And so that's probably what you're speaking of with working with Stacy, our mutual friend as well, is that there's a story that you tell yourself, and then there's a story that's true, right? And what other people say, and we want those to be aligned. We also don't want to be. I want to say we don't. I certainly don't want to be ever looked at as a poser. Uh, is that I'm just going to say these things and hopefully not live those out. So uh, maybe that goes back to your previous question. I'm just trying to tie it all together, Ben, so that you understand that during life, as we go, we build this arc of a story. It may not be the story we actually are telling others the same as the one that we're telling ourselves.
Yeah, when you've gone through that, what was the story do you feel like you've been telling maybe externally that you actually forgot to include one key person on that email yourself? What's one that really pops into your head that's really resonated with you?
So contribution is, um, you know how we talk about, humility, right?
Mm-hmm.
Humility is one of those things is that you on the outside we don't want to actually look braggadocious. On the inside, we need this fuel sometimes of recognition
Yes.
just for what has happened or what we believe. I think in getting to the core of it, where um, I would imagine there's a spiritual desire to be humble above maybe all things. And yet, sometimes when we are overly humble, I want to say maybe that's not the greatest word for this, but we're not willing to actually both take credit and play a bigger role, that we're actually not helping anybody else. Because I don't necessarily want to tell these stories, right, with you today necessarily. Where did it start? Where is it now? Um, 'Cause it's just difficult to go through that sometimes because I don't want people to think that I did that. Okay. Like this took a lot of people and a lot of time, right? And I don't want to take the credit for it wholly. And it sounds like you do, though. I mean, it sounds like you do when you talk about it. I don't want to be that guy.
I think this is also, I'm really curious. I want to come back to, where do you feel like that started for you? I mean, was that like you witnessing that with like your parents? Is it your spiritual journey? Is it, um, but before that, I think that's so interesting because so often we want to be recognized, or being recognized, by the way, is just, I think, another way of saying be heard, be seen, be understood. right? I think that God has given us all of these incredible like gifts. And I think the thing that for me really helped me kind of wrap my brain around just calling it like I see it. Like a win is a win. And at the end of the day, you started this off with like, hey, without a vision, all the people that you hire would never know in terms of where they're actually marching towards. And so I think that standing up and being proud of what you have achieved, even with other people, is sort of like and being, I think, maybe silent about it is sort of like watching a sunrise. If you've ever been to an ocean, a sunrise or a sunset, and you never know in terms of what each one of those days are, right? There could be some clouds on there, there could be no clouds on there, the color could be completely different, you know, maybe because a cold front just went through. But I think that it'd be like having a sunrise or sunset pass without commenting on it, to be able to go, that was stunning. And when I see people's achievements, that to me is like that. I mean, Joe, it's one of the things I love about you. You're an incredible friend. You're incredibly a loyal friend. You are a giving friend. Your generosity of like time and talent and money, I think, is just is under talked about. But I think that so often there are so many other people who feel like, "Ah, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be that person." And I just would encourage not only our audience, but Joe, you as well, that what you do and how you do it, they're sunrises and sunsets that God has allowed the world to come into fruition. And so, um, so I just as an aside, I just think that that'd be my encouragement to anyone listening to the podcast, is that what you do and how you do it, and with the attitude that you do it, it's a sunrise and sunset. It's worthwhile commenting the beauty of it, even if it is simply elegant and no one else is there to actually see it. Joe, in our conversations, you're a person who's put a lot of time in reading others. And I mean, it's so true. I mean, when I look at all of our businesses, we stand on the shoulders of giants, whether they're actually published or not, as you well know. But when you think about your last 10, 20 years, who've been the most influential mentors that you didn't necessarily meet in person, but you met on a page?
So one of the ones that I can remember pretty succinctly early on is in the 80s when I read Michael Gerber's book, actually, E-Myth Revisited. That was hugely influential. That was one of them that actually built my confidence, because I knew I didn't have to be all three, nor did I want to be all three. And so from the very start of building a business was this idea that I could be a shareholder if I went through this process. And so the next one, I think, honestly, is Strategic Coach has been a life-changing opportunity for me. I think I've been involved now in Strategic Coach 11 out of the last 15 years. Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe that's what they said. When I asked, and I've been in a bunch of different groups, and of course you and I met there, but I think Dan Sullivan's probably one of the folks that has impacted me the most over the years. And the results are because of many of the philosophies, many of the mindset changes that we've had to have along the way in order to achieve that. So those are two big ones, I think. And I've talked to lots of folks about that. I think Simon Sinek has a lot to say about both leadership and about the causes of you. Even like in Leaders Eat Last is such a good read. But
Yes.
yeah, I can go on and on with books, and people get tired of me with, like, I have
No.
so much, so many, I want to say, self-help books that it's a little embarrassing, probably. Oh gosh, have you read all those and you're still, yeah, you're still reading those?
Why have you felt it was important for yourself to continue to keep collecting all of that information?
I was sitting with a young man the other day. We were having this conversation because he's thinking of making a move into the entrepreneurial world, and he's pretty high up in a company right now. We're, and what we both agreed on is that kind of the old saying about if you're not growing, you're dying. And I think that really that's the basis of it right there. I want to continue to grow. And I don't know that you have to put an end to that at any time. I'd like to grow in some other areas. I learned a lot about business, but there's a lot about life in business. And I think we can make the world a better place actually through business. It's one of the great gifts actually of business that people don't even think about.
Joe, I want to thank you for being on the podcast today. I appreciate you have just a great, I think, mind. And I love how you actually articulate things. And as much as you say, it's not the most eloquent, I think that the things that are most profound are not necessarily the most eloquent, but the things that are so simple that they are profound. And I think that you dropped some really great, some lines today that are simple, yet so profound. And so I want to say thank you. But as I do with all my guests, I want to give you the last word. But before we do the last word, if people want to find out more about you, whether it's books, podcasts, websites, any socials, where can they find you if they want to know more about Joe?
As far as I know, I have a LinkedIn page, and where people can contact me through there.
What's the last word? What's the last word you want our audience to take away?
Well, a couple of different things that I'm thinking of now that we're through this, because this is not easy for me at all. I want to be who I am, and I don't want to play like I'm somebody else. It's really, really important to me. But I would say that you're a super gracious host, and I'm thankful. I'm thankful that we did this. It's good for me. Hopefully that there's some folks out there that have some type of benefit. And then to the editing crew that has to work on this, man, you got your work cut out for you. It's going to be great. And then they can show their my too along the way. So thanks for this. It was a great conversation. I appreciate your friendship as well, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. And you as well, Joe. By the way, our editing crew, they're already masters of unique ability. And I broke them in for you, Joe. Joe, thank you so much for being on the podcast, and looking forward to many more conversations.
Great. Thanks, man.
Thank you for listening. A big thanks to Elation Lab for the production and creative design. Remember to like, subscribe, and follow us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Keep listening for more Max Life.